All right, I think we're live. Hi, and welcome. This is Raz with Spoken Word with Raz. I'm your host. Yep, we're already on a great start. New year, hello. Technical difficulties, have to move to a new mic. Um, anyways, hi. And today we have the Queen herself, Morgan.
Hello. No
And,
affiliation to the royal family or anything to do with the Epstein case, all right?
and we also have the most loyal best friend, Happy.
Good evening, people.
All right. So, how was everyone's New Year and how was Christmas?
A lot. It was a lot. I'm exhausted. It's over. It's done. But yes, it was fun.
Nice.
It was unsurprisingly boring for me, since we keep things very simple over here.
Right. Let's see here. I think for me it was chaotic. Chaotic is the best word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I mean, both in a good and a bad way.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, all of that.
right.
Yes.
So what's kind of funny is like it's going to go into the topic today of what we're going to be talking about. Um, So, everyone, today what we're going to be talking about is this past year, 2021, but instead of focusing on the negative stuff, I mean, negative things are going to be brought up, but more of what have we learned for the year? What is the positives? What did we overcome? And all that stuff. So, making the point that even if everything in the world seems like it's falling apart, you know, well, like the focus of the thing, you are responsible for yourself. What do you do? How have we overcome it? And ultimately, how much better it really was. I don't
Yeah.
know if that made any sense.
Yeah. I think with that in a concise way, rounding up the year in a way where we are looking at the reality of actually what we succeeded against the worst parts of it and taking all the best things from it to move forward into the next year.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start, for all this. So, I don't know. Who wants to start?
It's your podcast. Oh.
Okay, well, I usually start and everything like that. That's fine. I just thought that it would be nice today if one of you guys, had the floor. I'm being
No.
nice. I always talk about myself.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Okay. Um. All right. So I guess. Oh God, where do I even start for last year?
I can't even remember the beginning of last year. That's how long ago it feels like.
Well, I mean, okay. So I do. I remember it quite well actually. Um. So if the first thing that I would like to point, last year I learned a lot of things about myself, a lot of the negative side of it. But it's good because it made me realize a lot of the things that I overcome that I need and that I still need to overcome. But it also is just filled with a lot of really good things. Like first off, the podcast. How we got to it was incredible. You know, uh, at the beginning of the year, it wasn't great. I had a lot of things going on. We weren't doing the best at the time. Ash had just started working. Um, and of course, but I also discovered at the time Tom McDonald started getting into these reaction videos and stuff. That's where I found Brad and Lex, and Ashley pushed me to broaden myself, right? To get out, to go meet more people, those kind of thing. You know the game. You know the game.
Yeah.
And so I joined their Discord server, and I through that, honestly, that couple of months that I was hanging out in there, was awesome. I met a lot of really great people, but I also met Morgan and Taranak. And I remember when I first talking to you. Yeah, I'm gonna drag Morgan into this one. I remember when first talking to you and the level of like you always were laughing and stuff like that, but like the level of doubt and kind of like you might not know this, but you were a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Shy. We'll use shy than you really are at the time.
Yeah, I am. I always am in certain social situations. Like when I go into when I meet a large group of people for the first time. It's sort of like it's hard to get in, find your way in. It's like getting onto a roundabout, isn't it? And like sometimes you're like, yeah, now do I jump in? Do I jump in? But once I get going, I'm like duck to water sort of thing. But yeah, no, definitely the voice conversations I was very sort of like a little bit shy of. But I think that's just I'm not a very internety person.
Oh yeah,
It was very much out of my comfort zone to even be on Discord in a chat room like that.
well,
Socially, they put me in a room full of people, I'd be fine. But that situation, yeah, it was different. It was out of my depth. But yes, yeah. Anyway, continue. I will allow it.
well, actually, this is a good point. Like for you, we'll just turn this into a conversation. What is it like for you? Yeah, you joined Discord and stuff like that. You've never really did any of those stuff. Like, like from you, what pushed you to do that?
It was just a lot in natural progression. Just because I got really into, like you say, I'd done almost the same thing, like the Tom McDonald rabbit hole into the reaction videos, into Brad and Lex, into sort of like, and spent a lot of time sat in their comments, and it just naturally rolled over to the Discord when they started up the Discord. So we jumped over to there, and it was just sort of like where sometimes I rabbit hole things, like I take an interest in something and then it tangents into something else, and yeah, it was a weird tangent. I wasn't
Right.
quite expecting, but it was where it led me, and it's only been because obviously this is the first time that COVID has put me in a position where for the first time in my life I've actually had the time to do things like this, or been in a situation where I was socially deprived, that I was looking for like conversations and meeting people, because I just wasn't, at the point that the point where I sort of like was in the Brad and Lex rabbit hole, we'd probably been locked down for nigh on, like on and off for nigh on a year by that point, with a couple of months interval in between each one. And it was like, and I've gone from being in a band and being at gigs every weekend, like every weekend for 8 months of the year, working full time in a sales job. Like, everything that I've done has always led me to be around people a lot. So being out of that for nearly a year was a struggle for me, and like I desperately needed to talk to people.
Oh yeah.
Fucking talk to me.
I get that so much. I get that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So yeah, it was a combination of a number of things, I think, really, that led me there. But yeah, that's where it was.
so, like for that, see, I'm more interested. Like, I'll talk about my stuff. Like, I always talk about my things with the podcast, like you said. But I was actually more curious about you and Happy, over this because, like I said, I think even with all the things I was already on my journey for a long time before you. So I was kind of curious about your year and what you learned and like the growth and and the realities that you started seeing from that. Because obviously it had to be a shock going into the chat rooms, meeting everyone, and I know it definitely was a shock meeting me.
Well, no, it's just different people. Like, I don't, it takes quite a lot to shock me. I've met some quite interesting people over my years, most of them when I was quite young. So yeah, I'm all up for new and interesting people, but I don't know. I think my journey this year has been a little bit about sort of like owning your shit, like walking the talk, sort of thing. You know, it's all good and well wanting to be a person or wanting to have certain things from your life, but if you're not actually doing the things that you've got to do to get them, like then and you say you've been on a journey for a long time, so have I. You know, I had a mental breakdown about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, and it's been a long journey of sort of building stones, steps up back from that, in various different aspects. But you know, the last 2 years have been a big journey because I've had a lot of, you know, 2020 was a very bad year for me. There was a lot of bad things that happened in 2020. And coming out of that, I think I was definitely shell shocked. I was trying to recover from it. And there were a lot of things that I needed to deal with, and a lot of them were just sometimes being present, sometimes just owning who you are and what you want and what you need from the world and from the people around you. And you know, that was part of my, because I'm very good at talking a lot, as you well know, and having a lot of opinions and having a lot of feelings, and like these are all the things. You know, it's very difficult for me to then follow that up, like say with the actions that you need to follow it up with to make sure that something happens with it, like that you get the result that you actually want. And that for me was a big part of it. And obviously, you know, you've been a part of that, and you know, it's been the latter half of this year has been a breeze of happiness, in all honesty. Even when after, you know, because I went, it'd been a low, it got lower, and then I pulled myself through it, and then coming out the other side of it, it was it was like, you know, when I got hit by a bit of a major inconvenience in the latter part of the year, I breezed through it like an absolute boss, because I had actually started doing that, like, you know, well, no, actually I've made progress. No, actually I have been doing exactly what I was saying. No, I have proved things to myself. No, if I have done it once, I can do it again. Like, you know, yes, you're right. There is a lot of self-assuredness that came through it, but I think really it is just owning what you want, what you what you think, and putting it out into the world, like making sure you're actually accomplishing shit.
Yeah,
that was,
you know, it's like, you know, you talk about that, and it's like the thing that, you know, I've been on a roller coaster this year myself, like, and again, I'm glad I went through these things, because it's like the one thing I want to teach people, or what I wanted to talk about, or what I've been pushing specifically is, you know, you have to look at reality versus your perspective. Like, and again, once you're in reality, once you start seeing things like that, I think you have noticed, it's kind of hard to go back to where it's only your perspective, you know?
yeah.
Um, like, once you escape that, because again, I feel like when you're only in your perspective, it's not just your perspective, it's you're seeing the world only from what people call your reality, right? I think that is a bigger downfall, and for me specifically, that's a big thing for me. Was I talked about this multiple times, but I'm gonna say it on here now. Talk is cheap, because if you want your words, but words can have weight, but they only have weight when they're backed up by action, by what you've done. That people should only trust your word once you have proven and consistently do it, and you don't stop doing it, right?
Mm.
Because otherwise, what are you doing? Blowing smoke in the wind.
Yep.
And that's why, you know, like, one of the struggles for me this year was just, and the positive of it, and, you know, I found out a lot about myself, but the struggle was, you know, people would come to me and be like, hey, I want this gratification. And I would tell them, you know, hey, that's cool, but you can do it again. Like, do it again. do it again. Keep working at it. I'm hard to please in that matter because, again, this is my standard and I sadly push it on others, but it's the one standard that I think I should, which is you have to learn consistency. You want me to actually be proud of you? Consistently keep doing the action. Because even if you do it once and you succeed, you have failed more times up to this point. Do it again, do it again, do it again, and make yourself actually proud of yourself. Feel fulfilled in yourself. And then I can trust you.
Yeah.
You want your word to matter, then stick to your word. And that's it. It's like I said, I'm holding you to your standard that you wanted. That was asked of me to hold you to. Does that make a lot more sense?
Yeah.
And this is where the emotions come in. Well, that's unfair. Welcome to life. People don't, because again, if they don't feel like I think a lot of people want to feel validated, and I'm like, the only person who has to validate you is you.
Yeah.
And if you want to be validated by people, be consistent in what you're doing and just know the fact that they enjoy talking to you and they want to be around you. The after, again, stop looking at the immediate return, right? What is the long-term effect? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I strongly believe that, you shouldn't need to be validated by other people. Like, that is the goal, is to get to the point when you know when you fuck up, you're not ignorant to your own faults, you're not ignorant to your own humanity, but you know who you are, and you don't need a pat on the back from people to remind you that you're good. No, it's making that peace with yourself. I think that is the ultimate goal, because that's where I came from. I came from a place from years ago of constantly needing other people's validation. And I kind of feel like I am at a point now where it's like my own judgment is the hardest part to get past. Like, my own, like, making sure I'm happy with my own shit is like more important to me than caring about whether other people are happy with me, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to deal with me when I go to bed at night. I'm the one that, like, should all the shit come down and I'm sat on my own, it's only going to be me. I need to know that I can pull myself up on my wrongdoings and pull myself up on my right doings. Like, and sometimes I'm better at patting myself on the back than I am pulling myself up on my own shit. But I think the ultimate goal for most people should be getting to the point where you shouldn't need other people to tell you whether you're doing something right. You should know in your heart of hearts when you're doing something that if you look at something and you feel proud, you don't need anyone else to turn around to you and tell you that you've done a good job. You know you've done a fucking good job. Like, and I think that's the point that everyone should aspire to be at. We do need obviously we need criticism, we need like other people, we need all that sort of thing, and it's nice to have the feedback. It's always lovely to be told that you're doing something right. But I think, ultimately
if you're going to be asking for, like I said, the biggest thing is asking for the honesty of it. So even if they have something positive to say about you, and this is where I have the hardest time because of merit matters a lot to me, obviously, because of the way that I explained that, but the same thing. But if you really want to validate, again, for me, it's validating my own existence to myself. I do have something to prove to myself. It's not other people who have to prove it to me, because it's I have to validate my own existence to myself that I am living by these things. But there's another part to it too. If you really want to be validated for how good you're doing, instead of looking and asking for verbal affirmation, look how the people around you treat you in your everyday life.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right, it's amazing. You really do feel it and notice it, and you don't need them to tell you.
Yeah.
But it is nice to hear a verbal confirmation. Don't get me wrong.
But yeah, I, at no point did I ever say this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't take compliments. Like, if anyone's throwing them out, I'm not going to shy away from them. Like, I'm just saying, You know,
But
I don't need them to breathe. You know.
but aren't they the best when they're coming from somebody without being asked?
Yes.
Like don't get me wrong, a lot of people don't deal with sentiment very well. It feels cringy, but there's something nice about somebody coming out like from their heart. Like I did before the podcast to you guys, like getting it without asking for it. That's the best kind of validation.
Yeah. See, I mean, my whole thing has been over Christmas, very much a case of like, I have a lot of friends, and I've obviously, got my son has been with us for the longest, and they've only all started having families in the last sort of 4 years. So, it was a long time where my son was the only kid in our sort of group, and now they've all started having kids, and it's been wonderful for me because now I can dote on their children the way they've doted on mine. But yeah, definitely coming to this Christmas and sort of like, handmade Christmas cards and handmade presents from children has been like the absolute, because that's, when it comes from kids, well, then what do they get out of it? When they make you a picture or something like that, I made this for you, and I made an effort to scrawl your name on it, like that to me was just sort of like, yeah, that's just time and effort spent, like actually giving it, like caring about these tiny people. I've invested time in them because I actually care about them and I love spending time with them. And the investment comes back when you get these things where they're just heartfelt. It's pieces of paper covered in glitter and stickers, but they are like the greatest treasures on earth to me right now. And that's where I think for me, this Christmas, where I was just sort of like the validation, where it's like, it didn't come in the way of compliments, it didn't, but it's exactly the illustration of what you said. That is the reaction from the people that I spent the time with over the last year, and it was all the warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because words only have weight when action is done, right? It's the action of it.
And that's it. And with children, it's so innocent as well, because
Yep.
there is nothing else to it other than like I think of you. I thought of you at Christmas, so I made you something. It's like, well, thank you. I'm glad you thought of me when you could be thinking about Santa.
You could be thinking about the new Transformers or the toys or
Yeah, exactly. Like, all the other things that they could be thinking about at Christmas, and then I get handmade stuff, and I'm just sort of like, yeah, that's it. That's it. And that goes to show, like, I've definitely, from the person I was 5 years ago, I'm a very different human being now. I can tell you that, because it's, these are not the things that I would have been reveling in at Christmas 5 years ago.
And isn't that amazing? Like I'm sure we've all gone through it where we get the idea that people don't change, or if they do change, it's not easy. Like that is the reality of it. It's not changing. But this idea that we don't change, because we're gonna change regardless, but changing into better people or actually forcing ourselves to change in these ways, it is possible. I wish people would stop. Like we've gotten to a point where people are very skeptical, or they think, especially young people, it's amazing how much they have believed that this is who they're going to be when they're 20, 18. And like,
yeah, but didn't you think that when you were 16? Like, didn't you think, I'm never going to be anyone other than this? This is who I am forever and ever. Like, and then like punk rock forever. Oh my god, like,
I wish I thought that deeply when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, no.
No, you live. The reality is, here's the thing. That's the whole point of like today. Yeah, you're always gonna have that stuff, obviously, where you're in the heat of the moment. But that's the point. It's the heat of the moment. You really think they think that? No, it's where they've been stuck in their houses, or they like. The reason I think it's gotten worse is that people just have more time. They don't go out like we did.
Well, they're being discouraged on a grand scale from socialising in any fucking way from like nowadays.
I mean, again,
but I mean that's a negative that we're taking from last year, and like we're not. But yes, no, it's not. It's not permanent. But nothing's permanent.
Oh, I just meant overall. This has been several years. Do you think the last couple of years is where this started? Oh, it's been the last several years that we've been seeing this, and all I'm saying is like, yeah, go out, have a fight with your friends, argue, have a good time. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Like like those are good things. Like people don't
Yeah.
think so, but those are good things. Because here's where I'm going to take the negative and turn it into a positive. Because again, we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on what the positives of those things that we did. Where again, because yeah, we didn't want to hurt our friends. We didn't want to argue, but we did it anyways. We let that passion. When you're young, you should let that passion
Oh my God,
into
can you
someone.
imagine? I mean, I don't know about you guys. When I was a teenager, I was part of a really big social group, and then we were all like alternative and rockers and metal and punk and all that sort of stuff. So we were all sort of like the outcasts, and we all hung out together. And the drama, the trauma, shared trauma that we all went through. It was devastating. What a horrible time it was when we were teenagers. Can't imagine turning around to me at 16 and go, in 16 years' time, you and your mates are going to laugh so much about these events. Like these things that were truly heartbreaking and life destroying at the time. In 16 years, you're going to be sat there going, oh my God, do you remember when we thought about this? And like when that happened, and like, can you imagine trying to tell yourself, your younger self, that you'll be laughing about all these heartbreaks in a few
Right?
years' time?
Right? Like
They could not conceive of it. I'd be like, no, I will never forgive these people. Like, I can't even remember who they are now.
oh gosh, right? Like oh gosh, well you gotta remember Happy's our age too, so it's gonna be so I'm curious about him. I was hung out with those people, but I was also my friend group was the nerdy group, but we were also in the middle and all like we were part of the cool kids and all. Like we were really outcast, even from the what you would call the outcast. That's the funny thing about being a nerd in the 2000s.
Yeah,
13.
no, we were not the same group of people.
No, no, it's that doesn't mean we didn't go do stupid shit.
No, it didn't mean that we wouldn't have hung out together at various times and been at all the same parties and stuff, but it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that we were of the same group.
Oh yeah, and I might have been. See, that was the whole thing about my high school that was always weird is that I was part of all these different groups, but my main group was the nerd group. But I was
Yeah,
part of the other groups because, again, being kind of like that weird social chameleon,
yeah.
did do that. But like, does that mean that I would hug around you all the time? No, I would probably hung out with my nerd friends and talk about drama. You guys talk about
Yeah.
drama. No, no, no. Nerds are a whole different category from back then. Very neck beardy, like we all the jokes we make. Yeah, no, that's really what we were like what they were like. But they were my friends. They were also, um, and being at the lowest end of the rung, and we really were at the time,
Mm.
socially. Uh, it teaches you a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of them that I know didn't grow out of it. That is my only sadness for them, is they didn't grow out of it.
But
A lot of them.
it's a passing sadness. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it's one of those, they as we've just discussed, they have the power to change their lives in
yeah.
any way they deem fit. Anyway, I am now curious. Like, please, Happy, please tell us what you were like as a
Oh yeah,
teenager.
yeah. I was gonna move. That's why I was moving on to him. Yeah, Happy, go ahead and tell
My
us about your year too.
teenager life. Uh, well, it was fairly unremarkable. I had like what, three good friends I hung out with, and we basically just stuck around together pretty much all the time, sharing our combined knowledge on such extremely valuable topics as which Pokemon spawned where.
So
Since that fad started exactly at the right time for us to get around to it. And we basically got the whole thing all mapped out before GameFAQs was even available around here. Collaborative team effort.
So you're saying like where me and her had like at least had those fun adventures, you are the definition of nerdy.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, did you have like one of every different console as well? You like the ultimate gamer?
Oh, I wish.
No.
I wish.
You were the one, like sneaking around your friend's house to get some the GoldenEye in on N64.
Oh,
Surprisingly enough, the N64 was not one of the consoles I've ever played.
Oh, really?
oh, we got to change
I
that.
mean,
Even now, I don't care. We got to change that. You have to play with the bad controller. With the
It was like straight up.
I
I'm
hate
pretty sure we could get one
controllers.
sent to him for like 20 quid.
oh gosh. I will say this: if I ever do get my opportunity to go and visit, like Morgan, the only thing we have to do is we got to get Happy to the UK. That's where we'll meet up, and then we got to take him out and actually have a good time. This
Mhm.
man's,
It's not particularly difficult.
huh?
That isn't particularly difficult.
Yeah, and we're gonna take you out. We're gonna, you're gonna have you're gonna have a good time, and we got to show this guy how to live. You don't understand.
If anyone's ever allowed in the UK again, but yeah.
Yeah,
You're
right. Oh, that's okay. I'm kidnapping him to the US at some point. It is
I was
happening
like,
Eventually.
eventually, even if I have to actually kidnap him. Adult nap? I mean, is it really kidnapping if they're adults? I've always wondered. Never mind. Point is,
It's a valid concern.
uh,
I was going to say in Portugal as well. You want to go careful about kidnapping, though. Make a big deal about that.
I mean, he came willingly.
Yeah.
I told him to get in the van, and he got in the van.
I was going to say you lured him with sweets and Pokemon cards.
In Gundam.
I'm pretty sure he'd get me with just some
I
Gundam.
was like, it'd be like, hey, pull out your phone. If you Pokemon Go in the back of my van, you'll definitely catch it.
Right? Oh, but
What?
with the obvious net also, like the net was just
like an overly slapstick, like.
dude, we're doing this Acme style, man.
Fair.
So, Happy, what about your year of 2021? Like, we talked about like some of our changes. We'll get more into that, but like, what about your year? What did you learn? What is the positives?
What did I learn? I mean,
A lot of stuff at university.
well, not particularly that much, yeah, because stuff at university, I already had.
You already knew everything. You
Oh.
just had to prove it to get the paperwork to say you could go and do it. It's funny
Yeah.
that.
Though I did spend most of my year doing a cybersecurity course, so that was interesting because e-learning is not all that it's cracked up to be.
Right. Right. Well, no, but like, what is the reality positive stuff? Like what we were talking about. Like, you learn anything new about yourself, or did Happy be happy?
Well, happy be happy, but I'd say as far as positive goes, I did manage to finally put my mental state in a good position for me to finish this degree.
Well, that's
That
awesome.
is already a great victory.
That is a big victory. That's an amazing victory.
I have to say, as somebody who's been to university, and I love education. I absolutely love education, but there is a level of self-discipline that you have to be able to not only do the course, ace the course, but then turn it into something of worthwhile afterwards. And if I completely understand what you mean when you say getting yourself into a mental place where you can achieve that, because it's not something that I was particularly great at when I was at it. So, like, kudos to you.
Yeah. No, seriously, awesome. Like, I'm super happy and proud. Uh, yeah, like I said, it's just, you know, the reason I brought this up is because we are built. It's weird. We're built as humans, and it's very obvious when you talk to anyone that we're built towards the negative, to view a lot of the negative, to even when positives come in, like that one bad thing overriding, even if everything was great, that one bad thing can just decimate you mentally.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I do think just in general that we do have a hard time with the uh with emotions. Most of us suck at it because emotions suck. They do.
It's now I live on mine.
Huh?
I live on mine. Everything I do is based on how I feel. No, that's definitely something that I've been trying to go away from. No, no, but yeah, you're right. Even in that context, emotions do suck.
Yeah. Well, I go through stoicism and all this stuff, and I look, I have like the guy thing, right? Talking to it. I talked to my own parents about this, and like, my stepdad has the old school viewpoint. It's not necessarily about shutting down the emotions, but it's like locking those in down and always being the man and stuff like that. And uh, and to some degree, I agree with it, but there's a part of me, and I guess it's just from my own journey and dealing with people. Because he's like, people won't respect you if you do these certain things. He's talking about that old school mindset, right?
Mm.
And then I look at my life and I look at the people around me as like, well, that can't be true.
Yeah.
This is seeing reality versus my my own perspective on it. Like, if the reality is, if that was the case, then why do you guys respect me? Am I really that unmasculine, or am I really that weak?
I'm glad that this is something that's come up because obviously, like, there's if you're in the YouTube sort of sphere on the right hand side of things, there's been a bit of controversy over the last few weeks, and it did remind me a lot of what you've been saying in the past, which is this whole sort of thing of men being men and stuff like that. I think there's very much a case of do what you know in your heart to be like that. I think what it comes down to is do what you need to be a man. Like, don't be looking at other people. Like, no one else can tell you what you need to do. At the end of the day, I think it really is a case of, like I was saying earlier, like, being able to listen to yourself and understanding the feelings of, like, I know this is right and I know this is wrong. Like, these are the ideals that I want to see in the world. Live by them, like talking the talk and walking the talk and all that sort of thing. Because I think sometimes when you look to other people, people can sell you a lot of bullshit and not be and exactly do that, not walk the talk that they're talking, like say all the right things and put you into and build you up into thinking what you need to be by idealizing someone else, when actually you hold all the keys to your own destiny. You don't need to be looking to other people. You need to look inwards to yourself. And this has been a lot of what we've talked about over the last year. There's a case of we do need other people to an extent, but at the end of the day, you know who you are, you know who you want to be, and you know at least the first step of what you need to do to get on that path.
Right.
And if you can take that step, then the next step will become clear. And sometimes you can take a bit of advice from people and everything, but you don't need to look to somebody else to the way that they're doing things and go emulate that, or do what other people tell you to do. Like, in the same way, like you say, well, your stepdad, my stepdad sees things like this, and I see that doesn't work. Exactly. Like, use the skills that you've been given as a human in the modern world to know yourself, know your surroundings, and understand where you want to go and how, and take the first step to get there. I think that's really important for everyone to learn. And almost a little bit glad that in the turning point of the year that is something that on some level has been highlighted, regardless of the way that it's happened. I mean, it's all been very entertaining. I'm not going to go into it. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, then they know how entertaining it is.
I know exactly.
Yeah, I know. I thought you might.
Let me go into this a little more. Not that specifically, but like like you talk about, like the old school, the alpha. That's what we're talking about specifically. You know, you build an armor of steel, basically, right? But the problem is when that breaks, it's just the wall to protect this insecurities inside you. And I was saying last night, you need to be more like a rubber tire. You need to be the Michelin Man, right? A man of tire, be rubber. Doesn't mean that things can't get in, but don't be able to easily be falling apart. Be able to be patched easily. Because that's the difference between, like, when you break steel, you you can't just repair it.
Right? You can't put a band-aid over that. That's not no quick fix.
Right. And I don't want to get rid of, and I think about the heroes and the things that, like, how many people are fans of J.R. Tolkien, right?
Yeah.
This is, if you look at this man, J.R. Tolkien, he wasn't an unmasculine man or anything like that. You look at his stories and they are filled with this love and stuff like that. But you look at somebody like Aragorn, if you watch the movies, right? This is a very strong, cool, under pressure guy, right? But when he's not under that, he's compassionate. You know what I mean?
But I mean, Tolkien is fantastic in every sense of that because Tolkien does a fantastic job of it.
Yeah.
Very, very artfully saying that Frodo is probably one of the strongest mindsets in the entire fucking story, and he's the smallest and is the most overlooked. The elves are incredibly feminine, but are without doubt like the best warriors on the field. The dwarves, who come across as the strongest, also you can see straight through to their insecurities and how flawed every single human being that they actually have in the story is.
Yeah.
Like, he does it artfully of subverting the stereotype.
Yeah.
Like,
but you
that is humanity, though.
Right. But you wouldn't call these people any less men or women.
No, and that's exactly the point that I was making. Is like, arguably, Frodo, who is maybe more considered childlike, almost effeminate in the way that children of spring, like sort of thing, as George R.R. Martin would put it, is probably one of the most masculine characters in the entire story because of what he overcomes, the things that he does, the morals that he stands by, the battles that he fights, and the bravery that he shows. The smallest person can be the mightiest. Seems to be the weakest could be the strongest. And exactly that. He certainly would. Elijah Wood is not somebody that you would think of it like as a particularly masculine alpha. But I guarantee you, in the way that he goes about, and I don't know much about these celebrities, but the way that he goes about his life in Hollywood, he definitely comes across probably more alpha than a lot of the people who are sold to you as being alpha. It doesn't mean anything. Like this whole Thor-esque bloody stereotype, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, and then that's like one of the things I learned about myself. Like I said, I had a breaking point. I had a whole breakdown. Part of it was from pain, but I felt like I was coming out around. That's like what I was talking about before the thing, and I'll talk about it here. Is like I'm back at level 1 for my mental and emotional. Like, I feel like I'm back here. I was pulled apart from the streams. I had forgotten and again, this is an important lesson, guys. You're going to fail. You're going to hit a breaking point and stuff like that, and nobody can be strong forever. No matter how much we want to be.
Nope.
Sometimes it's good to start back where you begin. And now I have all the lessons from then rebuilt onto me. I now have more tools to pull from, right? That's the important part. You have more tools to don't be scared to start over.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I wouldn't for one second say that you are back at square one at all, because I think you've done like a 4 steps forward, like 3 steps back type of approach. Like, you know, you've taken leaps and then you've had to revert back, but I don't think you're as far back as you were when you started
Well,
in any way,
yeah,
because you're still doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the Raz at step 1 wasn't capable of doing this.
well, to be fair, when I say because it's easier to get back, like this is the whole point about starting over or failing or doing it. Like when you get to a certain point, don't view it like I'm higher level. View it more that it's easier now to get there faster. Right? That is what mastery is you know, you're able to get to where you need to be at a much faster step when you have to start over. You know, it's like let's say you're a steel worker, right? Or you're a metal worker. You want to make a sword, right? How many times do you think you failed or something like that? You know, and then you have to take a new piece of metal. It's the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just reforging myself again.
Okay.
And I'll do this as many times as I need. But now I'm made out of better quality metal.
Right.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
because I was gonna go semantics on your ass, but then you explained it, and I was like, okay, all right, I'll let you have that one.
Oh, but it is. It's just I'm now a strong. You know, I'm a strong. You know, I'm a stronger start than than the first time I did it.
Mm.
You know, where I broke and brittled, like, you know. Yeah, and again, that's why I'm not so worried about it. Like, I'm not scared, and that's why I tell people it's okay to start over. You know?
Yeah.
And like I said, just like the master, you know, like now if you take like this is the sword maker, you know, 10,000 swords in, he has more tools, he has more skills, he has more knowledge. That means the next time it's going to be better. You don't forget the past, but you have, you know what? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not that I'm necessarily at a higher level. I'm just getting to a higher level faster. And yeah, I jumped back like that. That's the whole thing that I found amazing is if I didn't go through all the things I did and learned all these things and did the things my way. And I already know this. Like, even talk to my stepdad and stuff like that, and looking at everyone is like, if my way is so wrong, why is it that I'm not feeling the effects that you're talking about? Why is it that people do respect me, even though I do talk about my insecurities, that I do break down sometimes? And I think a big part of it is is that I live honestly with myself and the people around me. It's that don't give a fuck attitude. I mean, obviously I give a fuck about things, but you know what I mean by that, right?
Mm.
Yep.
If I'm so wrong, why doesn't reality match it? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Are you actually doing wrong? I wonder if there's times when we're discouraged from the right actions because somebody views the world differently, not because they live the world differently.
Mm. That's some deep shit, that one.
And you know, but I do understand to some level where my family, because again, I have with my family and stuff, I feel like with my mom and my stepdad, I do show more of my fragility around them. They're my family.
Yeah.
Um,
As you should.
And here comes Taranek.
Come
Hi,
bowling
Taranek.
in.
Hey ho.
How are you doing?
Surviving.
Surviving? Oh no, that doesn't sound like it. Yeah, we've gone from being a little bit somber to being chipper and upbeat. What do we need to do to turn you around?
Well, it's just, hey, I made it through another year. Whee!
Then you're gonna love. Hold
Yeah,
on.
congratulations.
Then you're gonna love our discussion
Oh, really?
because now we're turning it to you. You're here. Hey, we don't
Uh-oh.
got a ton of time because I have to prepare for a snowstorm tomorrow, so I am going to be cutting short then we're not going 2 hours. We're going to go probably
Shit,
another
yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, before Taranak sort of jumps in, and I'm dreadfully sorry that I didn't ask about this before. I mean, obviously you haven't been affected by it, but the big storm that hit Kentucky last month, like, are you guys okay? I take
We've
it
been
didn't hit
fine.
you,
We've been fine. We also got another
right?
storm a few days ago.
I kind of assumed you would have told us about it if, like, things had gone like horribly wrong.
Yeah,
Had a
yeah, no, we're
very,
okay.
very
I've only had
hard.
to clean. I only had to clean a bunch of branches out of my yard and everything like that. That was all.
Right,
Yeah.
that's cool. Sorry, I withdraw my interruption. It was only because I know that once Taranak gets started, I might struggle to jump in with that.
So, Pterodach, you're gonna love this discussion. We are talking.
All right.
That's the raspberries.
We're talking about 2021, but we're talking about it from the reality of it and the positive things for us. Like, not, again, and what we learned and what were the good, ultimately what were the good things out of it, and not just focusing on the bad. Because ultimately, I wouldn't say I had a really good year, and specifically, you get this too. I love you. I think you're family to me. Without you coming into my life, you all helped me overcome a lot, like learn a lot of things about myself, but also help me overcome them.
Yeah.
I call last year, regardless of anything else, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
On that aspect, I have to agree. I mean, with all the other doo-doo, I mean, I am no longer saying anything about, made the new year be better, that type of thing, because it's like every time I say that, the universe says, "Oh, challenge accepted."
Yeah, no, I haven't done that since I was like 15. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's like, nope, that's not in my vocabulary. Mm-mm.
No, we're gonna survive another year. That's all it is. Expect the
That's
worst,
about it.
only be pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
So yeah, but what did you take good from the year? What good things did you do?
What did you learn about
Actually,
yourself and the positives that you overcame too?
ugh.
Yep. It's a rough one.
Well, part of it is I'm getting old as. I remember when rocks were still soft. God damn it. And yeah, with the body falling apart faster and faster as I, accelerate into the upper years. In that regards, I don't think that there's nothing good on that particular front per se, but I don't know. There have been some things, subtle shifts in some of the ways that I think, and some of my acceptance, I can say. Like I never really had, any kind of problems with, any of the alphabet. And I mean, I had, friends that were that way. It was like, okay, they're a friend. That's what they want to do. As long as they ain't grabbing my, trying to push it down my throat or, physically get me out, I don't give a dang, Sometimes we'd mess around with it, I mean, there were times when we would get flirting. Oh my God, but we knew that it was like, at the end of the day, we're just playing. Everything is cool. And with some of the things that have happened over the past 2 years, I was, especially being cut off from those friends, I was really starting to have a problem with it constantly in my face. I mean, there's this one meme. God, I can't even think of her name now. The lady who plays Professor McGonagall.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, it's a picture of her done up in her Victorian style, and the meme is something along. Yes, it is very wonderful to have a penis, and you can be proud of it and, be very happy with what it can do. But as soon as you start wagging it in my face and trying to stuff it down my throat, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I seem to be having quite a bit of a problem.
Right.
Because it's like, you know, but one of the things that I've done is I've mellowed. As long as somebody is like before, they're not trying to shove it in my face or, demand that, oh, I must use these pronouns or those things or whatever. Basically, if they're not being a dick, I won't be a dick.
Well, isn't that the ultimate rule? Treat people how you want to be treated most of the time, right? So if you come
Well-
out of the woodworks, treating people a certain way, don't be surprised when they treat it back to you.
Well, here's the thing. That's the way I always was. Up until like the last couple of years. And I started sliding, backsliding. And, the constant, assault on me was kind of like, okay, well, if you keep trying to stab me with your little teeny knives, I'm going to start stabbing back. There's a certain point when you defend yourself. And I was getting more and more irritated with it. And I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, roughly, I started saying, no, that's not me. Me is this, and I stopped caring. If they wanted to scream, it's like, well, then you know what? We can't have a conversation because we're never going to agree. You're not going to change my mind by screaming. And I started going back to the, if you're cool, I'm cool. If you're an asshole, yeah. So I'm happy in that regard because I reclaimed, or I'm back on path to the way really everybody should be. Is I don't give a damn what color you're, how much melanin or colorant is in your skin. You could be green, purple, it doesn't matter to me. And I don't care about dangly bits and who you want to mash your dangly bits with. Whatever, just don't do about don't push me into it.
Yeah, I think you can be forgiven in the fact that I think things over the last few years have culturally gotten a bit absurd, and it was almost like it was, I have family members who are alphabet, and and it's navigating through these things where it's just like you don't have to make it everything. Like, you are so much more than that. Like, it's a conversation that we've had. But, I think that it has been pushed to a point in the last few years where it's almost been like it's done to provoke a reaction. And I don't want to say that in like an ignorant way because obviously, like, I don't give a shit what anyone wants to do. I'm like, we all do some weird shit in some weird way, like regardless of what aspect of your personality is the weird bit. Like, we've all got some weird bits to us, and we all do things like a little bit absurd sometimes. But I just think, you can be forgiven for that. But again, it's the age old. I mean, like, I can't remember the whole saying, but the courage to change the things that I can, like, the acceptance to know the difference, like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just coming to that point again. It's being able to take the long breath and go, just remember, you don't actually care. You don't actually care. You don't actually give a fuck. So just walk away and let them get on with it. And that's in every aspect. That's not just in that one thing. I think that's culturally across the board right now. I feel like everything is just designed to make everyone angry at the moment.
I want to point out, I think, even Happy, as calm as he is, a lot of times, like we can talk about this. Like, I think everyone has gone through that in the last 7 years, at least. Not, I would say 7 years is when it kind of really upscaled. Would you agree, Happy? Because we were like that at one point too. We've always tried to stay more calm, but we've fallen prey to that thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
We were just so
normal.
early in it.
Every time now, all I think now is that when they brought PC Principal into South Park, and like, the first few episodes of that, and they've got everything's going wild, and they end up having the war against the frat house, and they've got like pregnant immigrants and. Children throwing tacos at them, and it's like, and you've got the two farmers stood on the fence going like, well, it looks like it's all gone a bit PC again. It's like, oh yeah, how long did it last time? And they're like, about 7 years. Like, literally every time I watch something on TV, I'm like, have we got to that point yet? Are we there yet? Are we at the 7-year mark yet? Well, we can all just start letting it, like, it has to reach a natural breaking point where it gets just so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Actually, I think
Everyone
it
takes
is.
a step back. Are we there now?
I've been watching, like I said, with how far long I've been into it, and I like, I'm very positive in a lot of things. Like, yeah, it's a slow change though. You have to remember this. Is the hard part. Is like you see the wind of it, but things move slowly. To fix something takes more time than it is to break it.
Yeah, but as long as we're on the regression, because it's been on the advance for a long time, and I just feel like there's been a couple of things that have happened sort of since about September this year. It just feels like all these things being so ridiculous is all starting to cave in on itself.
Yep.
A number of very, very well documented court cases over on your side of the pond, like in various different states, that have documented the sort of decline of how absurd and ridiculous things have got. So I'm hoping that we are now on the regression, and although we are still going to be dealing with the healing of it, the onslaughts are going to stop.
Well, like I said, you can view the world and stuff like that. Like, going back to the point, but if you want to know if things are getting better, well, the best thing I can always say is just, even with all the negatives that are in your life, look at how you are now. And then view how your efforts have affected the people around you. That's the only way you really can tell, in my opinion. Yeah. It doesn't seem like the localization would be all that matters to the global thing, but honestly, I think most of the stuff globally is a lie anyways at this point. I'm very much feeling this way, that it's actually a much smaller... They're big problems, but you want to fix it? Go out and look at people as people in the real world. Get off the internet.
Like, homework, watch Pay It Forward.
Yep.
Like, the one person making a difference does make a difference.
Yeah, and and again, this is like one of the big things for talking to you guys and stuff, and because I've seen all of you change. I like Teranek, the biggest thing with you, I know that it's been really hard for you recently, but the honest truth is, when I first met you, you were a very angry, grumpy man.
Well, yeah, I mean, you caught me when I was under siege, man.
Yep.
Have you seen the world?
You would not believe well, not anymore, but my inbox was, it was like the trenches in World War One.
That's fair. And no, that's fair.
He's like summing it out in there.
and yeah, I believe it. I believe that with all that stuff like that, but I was telling them, I definitely am now recognizing the good effects I had on everyone in this room, and what effects you had on me.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm taking credit. I have to. I'm going to take the merit of all the work I actually put in last year, especially for the people I love.
Oh, hey.
So
applause for you, man. I'm not going to deny that.
Like later, you need to watch the podcast, like, because you'll get more up. But we'll talk later when I'm back from the store and everything like that. Like I said, I'm preparing for a snowstorm tomorrow. So we're, but
hunkering down.
All of you, seriously, I have seen, like, especially Morgan and you, Teranek. Like, I have seen since meeting you and pretty much just kind of being here. It's not even about what I said or what I taught. Like, just being your guys' friends and caring and doing the things that I believe. You know, I've seen so much change in both of you, and it's awesome. Like, really, and it feels like you guys are being more of yourselves and more authentic to yourselves. And that's the one thing that I push more than anything. You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I will give you some credit, but a lot of credit to myself and the fact that, you know, come this Christmas, I was stood at base camp on my Everest, whereas last Christmas I was pacing around the bottom frantically, where I'd like worn a little path in the ground where I just walked backwards and forwards in the same spot, going like, I don't know how to start this. You know, and obviously mountain climbing has been our metaphor for our internal struggles all the way through.
Yep.
And you know, and that is something where it's been sort of like, you know, worn in the ground for 5 years, like walking backwards and forwards on the same spot, going, I don't know how to move on, I don't know how to get to the next point. And like I say, owning my shit, realizing that you have all the keys to your own future, that the only person holding you back is yourself, that sometimes you just got to get through your own shit. Like all of these things to be able to apply it and actually like be able to stand there and be like looking down at the little groove that I wore in the ground, like from base camp, going like, I fucking started. Oh my god, I fucking started.
Well, of course of course you should do that. Like, again, my only contribution is that I
It's
was
just
there
keep
when you
going.
started.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
seriously, that's my only contribution. I'm just talking about that the positive effect that I had was that I was at least there, even if I was only a small pat on the back to get you started on it.
No,
Actually,
as I was going to say, as the metaphor goes, you would just stood there going, but you do see that you've got like a rope and a grappling hook, like, and that you can just go up the mountain. That was basically that was effectively your role in there.
What were you guys saying, Pterodac?
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, your contribution was as she was coming by in her little trench there, you kind of tripped her up, and when she got up, you booted her in the ass in a different direction, so she couldn't get back into the trench again.
Yeah, that's one way of saying it. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that it is like I think that's the big thing with knowledge and stuff, and like how I am is like I agree with you, Pterodac. Is like it seems hard to go back after dealing with me. That going backwards becomes hard because you already know what's forward. You've already had a taste of it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm referring to. You know, you get so dredged into your trench that, you know, as you keep pacing back and forth, it gets deeper and deeper as, you know, something like that happens. I mean, that's how canyons are formed. And it gets to the point where you can't see out of it.
Yeah.
And it isn't until somebody trips you up and all of a sudden you're outside of the trench and then they push you away.
Right.
Saying, hey, look at that. And you start wandering in a new direction and all of a sudden you're like, wow. Hey, I can. What's this? You know, start bouncing around like Jack Skellington, you know, what's this? What's this? I can't believe my eyes. You know.
I fucking love that song as well. But I was going to say, yeah, one of the most irritating things, and it's like, because I've said it to you a number of times, is when you did the podcast with Savage.
Yeah.
And you said on that, like, what really irritates me is people who know what their problem is and don't do anything about it.
Yep.
And I was like, in that moment, I was like, oh, he's gonna hate me. And it was one of those things where it like immediately irritated me and somehow made me want to speak to you more at the same time. Like that's one of those things where it's like, and that's the crux of it. It's like you really are like, but you know what the problem is, so why the fuck aren't you doing something about it? Whereas like everyone else just lets you get on with your shit.
Yeah.
So and that was it. It was almost like I hated it and craved it at the same time, to be told like, you know what your problem is, do something about it. Like, yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's just a weird glimpse into my own psyche there. Like, fucking, what's wrong with me?
I mean, think about all of it. Like, again, think about all the things that I talk about. When you're lying to me, you're not actually lying to me. You can lie to me all day. You're building a narrative in your own head, and you're lying to yourself because you don't want to do it. It's not about me. And nothing. Like, again, I keep saying this. Most of the things we do is not about the person on the other side of the thing. It's about yourself. You know? That doesn't mean that you can't be a positive force. It doesn't mean that you can't use the things that with that to benefit others. You know? And I know that comes from a weird place for a lot of people. You know,
something else that just to interject a quick thing
Yeah.
there is, again, kind of being down in that trench and only having yourself to talk to. It's like I was buried so damn deep in all the other stuff, and my only outlet was quite a bit more right leaning than me. So, I mean, anything that I said was just like, echo chamber type thing. And it was like having somebody that was more closely aligned, at least in rationality, not in viewpoint, but in rationality, was extremely helpful for me, because I could sit there and bounce an idea off, and then it would come back, and I sit there and go, well, yeah. Okay, well, and he'd come back and go, well, good dang it, okay, it's my fault.
He's such a prick, isn't he?
I'm doing it. I'm doing it in an amusing fashion, but I mean,
I hear it though. It's like you nailed it.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't so much. It was half emotional and half logical, and so going into that,
completely rational and diffusing. It's just infuriating.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You realize all of a sudden it's like, what the heck was I thinking? Or whatever it may happen to be, and Roz has a, sometimes you might consider it irritating ability to sit there and hold up this mirror and say, really? And you sit there and go, yeah. What the? Wait a minute. That's not what I meant. That's what you said. Well, no, what I mean is blah, 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 blah. Oh.
I'm sorry, this is funny.
Well, like I say, I'm doing it in an amusing fashion because hindsight, I can go back and laugh at it. Sitting there going, oh my God, I was such a nut. But I'm, like I say, I recognize it and I laugh at it now. It was a little bit rough while I was actually going through it sometimes, and like I say, also going back on it now and being able to see it through that lens of a little bit of humor, it also has a tendency to diffuse it enough that, I mean, I didn't have to say a word for a few minutes there, and you knew what I was thinking, what I was saying, well, alluding to at least.
Yeah.
Everything about it was like, okay, I know exactly the path that he was on.
Yeah, see, I found a lot of the time where I would be like talking and ranting, and I probably wasn't coming from such an angry place as you were. You were obviously buried yourself into a very, very angry sort of state of mind where you're fighting the whole world. Or I wasn't in that place. So when I got presented with all these sort of like this mirror, it was just sort of like, Now, let me ask you the question. I'd just be so immediately frustrated with how right he was. I'd just tell him, fuck you, and then laugh about it at the time. I would find it hilarious at the time because I found it so infuriating because it was so... It's always so obvious. It's always like the most obvious cliche answer. And it's like, and then he says it to you and you know it's right. And it's like, I'm annoyed at myself because I knew that answer. So it's also when you're answering the question in class and you get it wrong, and then they say the answer, and you're like, "Oh, I fucking knew that! I knew it!"
Yeah.
And so you're infuriated with yourself because you're sort of like seeing that it's like you say, I knew it all along. I just took a Raz mirror.
Well, and I do want to point out, I
Be
think
confronted with your own bullshit.
And I want to take a very important thing. Like, I think one of the things that makes it effective, though, is that I never denied any of your guys' feelings on things.
No.
The idea was not to defeat you with logic. You know,
No,
or
he was
anything, or
egging
win.
us on, is what he was
No,
doing.
you
Huh?
just do it naturally.
What was that? I missed that part.
Oh, me?
Yeah, I
I
didn't hear.
just you were busy egging us on.
Yeah.
You were like one of those little neener targets and come up there and go, yee. You know, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Yippee! And then, you know, the dome moment would hit, you know, the smack in the forehead going, oh! All right. Dagnabbit.
It was never like an intentional thing. I don't think I ever felt like you were like intentionally going out of your way to guide me or anything like that.
No.
It's just conversations that we had. We naturally had conversations. You get caught up ranting about your own bullshit, and then you just turn around and just ask a really, really simple, obvious, poignant question, which then leaves you floundered, realizing that your entire previous statement was complete bullshit. No, you
And
know
that's the thing.
that's what's frustrating about it, because it's sort of like it wasn't ever it's sort of like you're going out of your way to do it. It's just your natural response to when you're having a conversation. Like sometimes you say and do things where it's just like your logic and rationality is so just
Perfect.
basic. Yeah. It's not convoluted by all the other bullshit. You just go, well, this is what I see, and you go, oh shit, yeah, that's what it is.
And you know, that's not part of what I'm not saying that he was doing it intentionally.
No, never.
It was
never.
just,
It
you
never
know,
felt like that.
it was like I say, and I'm using the example of the infuriating little, you know, something, because it's like, it's perfectly true. There's no reason at all why you should be mad at it other than it points out your own folly.
Yeah.
And that's why it's infuriating, because
Yeah.
it's like every time you see that, it's like, oh, God dang it. All right, I was an idiot. And he was just, you know, la la la, you know, doing his thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. Well, mostly not intentional. But yeah, he just kind of wanders in and he does these things, drops a couple of logic bombs, you know, and when you crawl out the other side, you know, breathing hard and going, you bastard, you realize that, hey, wait a minute, I'm in a better place.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, all right, the method kind of was a little bit of a rough road to hoe, but it was a lot easier than staying where the hell I was. And
Yeah.
the appreciation, I mean, I told you many months before, Roz, you know, you gained a friend for life, you know, loyalty many, many months ago when I told you, because it was just like, yeah, there you go.
Right. No, I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's just you know, I do appreciate it, and you know, this last month and a half has been a roller coaster for me. I let my emotions get the better of me. Like I said, I'm not perfect. Even when I come to you guys, you know, when I talk to you guys and stuff like that, you know, I still go through these things myself. Again, it's
Yeah.
a lived thing. You have to constantly do it, and you do falter, and you learn more about yourself. And like you said, if you don't keep learning, if you don't keep going through these things, you're not going to be, you know, and if you don't accept that sometimes you're going to fail, and it sucks, it hurts in the moment, but you come
But, you
out
know,
better. Oh, go ahead.
so that's something else that I appreciated too, was you helped me through some difficult times, and it was an honor in a way. Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of corny, but it was an honor, because when you were having some things, you know, when you talked to me, I was able to be the helping hand at one point, and it was like, you know, this is what friendship and camaraderie, even community, is supposed to be like. We can't all be strong all the time. Every now and then we've got to help each other out. You helped me out, and I had my chance to help you out a little bit. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you before you came in, I can tell you what I told them. And this is kind of the most important thing. You know, I was talking about my stepdad and everything like that. He has the old school way of thinking about, you know, emotions and being a man and about being respected and stuff like that. And I told them, if that was the case, why do you guys respect me? Why does Ashley respect me? Even though I'm not like the old school man. You know.
Because
Oh, go ahead.
because there is a difference. I mean, there's old school, and then there's old school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are some people that this is supposed to be a guideline, not a hard and fast rule. And some people take it as a hard and fast rule and never, ever. Stoicism to the utmost degree. And it's like, no, it's a guideline.
Yeah.
You should have some stoicism, but there's going to be times when shit's going to hit the fan, you know, and you know, you're going to squeeze your eyes shut and a little bit of water's going to leak out because, you know, there's some pain involved, you know, and it's just, it happens. And being able to just talk about it rationally and understand that, hey, everybody has these, and you don't have to always be that rock.
Yeah.
You know, because inside that skull of ours, you know, we're all by ourselves anyway. So,
yeah, I mean, I was just going to throw in, like, again, because I was one of the things that I, you know, was discussing earlier about this whole sort of like even the old school. Like, I mean, I just call bullshit on all of any kind of school, because at the end of the day, life is so complex and so different for everyone. Every single person's experience of life is completely and utterly unique. And what the curveballs that life throws at you, man or woman, but especially men, like the curveballs that life throws at you as a man, like there is no way, there is no there's no book step-by-step answer to how you deal with any one situation, because every situation is different. At the end of the day, like, you, even if you react badly in the moment, you can come down from that and understand what you've gone wrong, like see a situation and try and apply it. Like, you know, I think, and there are ways of speaking to people around you, and you know, there's nothing unmanly about speaking to people who have been through similar experiences and asking for advice. There is nothing unmanly about letting the world fucking beat you every now and again and being upset. Like, you know, speaking as a woman who is attracted to masculine men, like, you know, that is what masculinity is owning life every step of the way, and just being the best that you can be. Like, you know, there is no, like, you shouldn't be living your life where I can't talk to people because that's not manly, or I have to be in like a fight because that's manly, I have to be aggressive because that's manly. None of these things attributed to what is actually makes a man a man. A man is a man because he stands up and he takes responsibility of his shit when he needs to, and that's what it comes down to. And but that's the same as anyone. Like, you are a decent person when you stand up and you own your own shit. Like, and we all need to learn that lesson. And it's not fucking gender specific.
Yeah, there's a key word to it too, and it's the whole thing is just what you're putting out in the world again, right? The honesty of it. The reason that women wouldn't respect a guy, like, again, there is a point where you go too far either direction, right? But if you're a strong man and you have always been a strong man, that sign of weakness, if you're with a woman who's with you because of that strength, and then you show that weakness and she loses respect for you, that is what you put out there, and that says more about her. But, you know, does that make sense? I don't live that way. I live honestly with it on the forefront at all times. I'm not a okay, I'm gonna say some mean things, but I'm not a beta cuck male, soy boy. But I'm also not but I am not a alpha Chad, Giga Chad. Yeah, we're making that joke.
Have you been talking about a certain?
No, we didn't. We're not talking about it. We skimmed over the event and talked about the product of masculinity in society and looking to other people for masculinity.
Yeah.
But yes, that is hilarious. And no, we're not going to go into it. Carry on, Raz.
The point is that, but nobody questions my masculinity or these things because I live honestly within myself. But I also do the things that I think men are supposed to do. I do have aggression when I need it. It's when it's necessary, and that's what I was taught. I think back on all the things that I was supposed to learn from from the old school mindset, and reality doesn't match up with like how society treated it. I'm supposed to be compassionate, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm supposed to be strong in the face of adversity, but I'm supposed to be compassionate. I'm supposed to show my goodwill. I'm supposed to do these things, and that's who I'm gonna fucking be. Those are the things that I want. Those are the ideals I embody. from my standpoint on Christianity, from my standpoint from philosophy, from my standpoint of all these things that we have seen historically, and what the standard we as a society wanted to live up to and fail. That's who I want to be, because those are the things that did. Those are the things I wasn't and I failed at, but those are the things that I do idolize.
Exactly.
Um,
We're not always going to be. We're not going to be perfect. There's just it ain't going to happen.
I'm not
You
going to
know.
be Superman, but I will be as close to him as I can be.
Yep.
Be your version of Superman.
Right.
Like, that's what I mean. It's sort of like you can be Superman, but Superman is the man that can stand up to the things that you're afraid of, nor anyone else is afraid of. Like, what does it matter if Superman's like, it can stand up to snakes if you don't have a fear of snakes, you're not bothered by them anyway. Like, deal with your kryptonite. Like,
Yep.
be the hero of your fucking movie.
Yeah, don't be an NPC. And when I say that way is like, for a long time I was not the hero of my own story, of my own life. That's actually true.
Yeah.
I
I
wasn't.
think we've all gone through periods of that.
But reality is I was just a student, at the time. I was just absorbing everything. And now I engage the world by and again, I have autonomy. I have this person. I don't have to justify my existence to anyone. So now, like I said, since I'm merit-based and stuff, but for me, I never justified my own existence to myself. I really, even up to the end of this year, I didn't actually think I was all that much necessary. And that's a big part of, and I think a lot of people feel that way in some ways, and that's why the point of this video today was not about all the negative and stuff like that. Who are we after this year? What did we do? Who are we, and how did we affect the people around us? And that was the point of this exercise for this podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope we understood the assignment.
Oh yeah.
But,
Okay, but I again, I'm not treating anyone like dummies. I'm just explaining for the the overall thing of people watching. It's. I'm a fucking teacher. I already know this. Shut up. I'm a teacher.
I feel like I've got a dunce hat on. I'm not wearing one, but I feel like I should.
Gold stars for everyone. Joking aside, I do not think it. Again, we're having a podcast. There's other people here. I don't think you guys are dumb.
So, I'm sorry, after all the, you don't need validation from anyone but yourself, and you said gold stars for everyone, I went, yay!
Well, like I said,
Genuinely pleased.
The important thing. Oh, Pterodix, tell me if you don't agree with this one, because this is a big thing.
All right.
If you go looking for validation, it'll give you a short term, but it means nothing, right? But when let's say you're not looking for it or something, and somebody comes to you talked about this before, it feels more when you have that person who comes back years or a year or something, and somebody out of the blue tells you how much they appreciate you, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
that's where it matters.
The whole internet social media thing where, oh my God, I got my clicks, people like this and people didn't like that,
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, yeah, it's this whole bunch of little dopamine hits, and somebody liked what I said, but it's like, it's so quick. And it's like you get a grain of sugar, and it's like, oh, this is sweet. Is there more? Is there more? And you start looking for it, and there isn't any more. All there is around you is, the rest of the sewer. And so you start digging into it, looking for that bit of sugar. And then all of a sudden, there's a clear spot that shows up, and somebody shows up, and all of a sudden, they've got a cake.
Right.
And it lasts you for days, weeks even. And you're just like, this is satisfying. I mean, really satisfying.
Yep.
As opposed to, oh, I got a little grain of sugar, yay! That kind of validation that can make you feel good for days, if not longer, is so much more effective and so, I mean, it boosts you so much higher. I mean, it's like strapping a turbo to your butt and just,
Because it's
and
fulfillment, right?
yeah,
It's something like I keep trying to explain this to people, but I don't know how to explain fulfillment, but I think you did a good job of giving an idea of it. Fulfillment is much more important to me than happiness or anything like that. Because it's not a feeling I can explain. It's not a feeling that just goes away. You know? Not
well,
unless I let it
somebody,
go away. Huh?
well, somebody once, said that you can't be happy all the time because if you are happy all the time and you never know sadness, what do you have to compare it to?
Right.
Yeah.
Happy becomes, being happy becomes a normal.
Yep.
And so you can't be more happy per se.
Yep.
And, without the negative, when you're sitting around there and in the lower trenches type thing, and when something does happen that is a happy moment, it's so much sweeter and so much, oh God, Eddie Murphy said it, you can sit there and, you've been out in the desert and, you're starving and everything like that. And somebody hands you a saltine cracker, just one of them little square, dry saltine crackers. And you don't go, oh my God, this is the best saltine you ever had. And oh my God, is this a Ritz cracker? No, this has got to be one of those really fancy crackers because it's so good.
Right.
And was a saltine. It wasn't a huge thing in a way.
Right.
But because of the reflection, because of the circumstances that you may have come in, that can mean so much more.
Yep.
And the effort, there's the other thing. If people just sit there and shower you with accolades all the time, oh, you're the greatest, yes, man, yes, you're just the greatest, blah, 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 blah. It gets to the point where you expect, oh, well, I'm just the greatest and stuff. And all of a sudden, you're not accomplishing anything.
Yep.
But when you toil and you sweat and you cry and God dang it, this thing is driving me nuts. And when you finally get it and it's like, yes, it worked. That rush, the effort that you put into it.
Yep.
When you succeed, it is like, oh yeah, oh man, it's so much better. And that is that's what people really need. They need to, if they really want to get that rush, put in the effort. Put in that effort to sit there and try to do something. Because when you accomplish it, it is so much better than a whole bunch of people going, oh, you're just the greatest and ever. Oh my God,
I actually want to, this is the last thing, really. This is the last thing before we have to go. I was watching Peterson recently do a thing with and he talks about hell. We don't want people in hell. And I was like, but the reality is if you're already in hell, choose it. Choose to go through it.
Yep.
We get into hell and then we stick ourselves there and we try to dig ourselves out. But what I've said is I think there's more power. And this is from my own experience. If you want to know how I got here, this is my own experience. I chose it. I was like, I'm already here. I'm living this thing. I am not getting out. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to walk through hell. Right?
Yep.
And that is a Greek, or, that is that. How did you put it, Taranak? You and you said something like that. Not you. It was one of you guys said that I did a Herculean feat by actually going through my own hell.
Yeah, Herculean, Sisyphus.
Yeah.
Anybody that puts forth, a gigantic effort, getting themselves essentially forged in the fires of hell, you come out the other side and you're so much stronger for it. And little things, things that used to just totally drive you, oh my God, this happened to me and it was so horrible. All of a sudden you come out the other side and it's like this thing happens. It's like, that's it. That's the best you got.
Right.
Dude, I just walked through hell. That ain't diddly squat. And all these micro, aggressions and micro hurts and all these other things that they go on and on about. It's like, really? There was a phrase called "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me."
Yeah.
And it is, it has never been more true than now. Anybody who is hurt or offended or whatever by these minuscule little things they're proving, that they need to go through their own variant.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening about like we don't want people to suffer, right? I'm a cruel person. Like this, according to Jordan Peterson, I am a cruel person because I'm like, choose the suffering, go through it, go against it, fight it, deal with it, understand it. And then also, you weren't here for this one, but I was like, about being a man or about like, but the emotional thing is like, instead of trying to build steel, trying to cover yourself with iron, be rubber.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean things can't get through. You get shot or so, but it means that the smaller things, the things that don't matter, bounce off, and the things that are going to hit you are going to hit you, right? But there's no chinks, and you can repair rubber. You can't repair steel easily.
I got a welder that'll prove you wrong.
But it's not going to be as strong as it was.
No, when it comes down to it, it's being the willow.
Yeah.
An oak can be really, really strong, but it'll snap. Whereas a willow, you can sit there and bend that sucker all the way around.
Yep.
And I've known trying to break branches, I get an oak, snap, there it goes, there's the branches, I broke them up. Yeah. I get a hold of something like a willow, and it's like bend, fray, bend. Why won't this thing come apart?
Right. Yep.
See, whereas I would put a different analogy on all of it. I'd say, no, you need different materials for every different situation. Like, sure. Some people are made for different shit. Like, and some people will get through certain struggles that other people just couldn't fathom, and vice versa. Yep. Just make sure that you're the most durable material for your environment.
Well, that's why.
Be it rubber or steel or wood or whatever it is.
Well, like I said, be the Michelin Man. So tires, right? If you're out in snow, you can put chains on it. You need a different thing. You are being flexible. That's the point that me and him were making. No matter who you are, you want that flexibility and then you have things that you're strong at. You might be a strong man. You look at Jocko Willink or somebody like that who are like the military guys. They have this strong willpower and stuff like that. For them, they're not going to be like my tires, But you want that level of flexibility to get through life. Again, every one of you in here, you guys talk about how good I done things with you, but you have to remember that I treated you guys the same, but my method of talking to you guys was different for dealing with problems.
Yep.
You think the same things I said or did with Taranak would work with you, Morgan? No, they didn't.
No.
That's my point. And again, I have things that are forged that I believe, that I stick to, and I walk that walk. But then a lot of things I leave open to be. I leave my mind open to be changed if I'm proven wrong, and it does happen. You guys have done it to me this year. Like hardcore.
I'm going to bring up something. This is tickling me a little bit. I remember a while back, way back, around the time that we first met. And one of the things that I did was I was coming up with different things, And I recall saying, this is another tool in your toolbox.
Yep.
You remember that one?
I do.
When you're looking at it, you don't drive screws with a hammer.
Yeah.
And I suggested a couple of things. You were like, no, that's not, I don't want blah, 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 blah. And I says, it's just another, you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it all the time or whatever. But the thing is it's another tool in your toolbox. And there will be a point where you will need that tool. And that's what I'm kind of giggling, because what you're explaining here, you did not use the same tools on each of us. You used different tools, and having that extra tool in the toolbox meant that you were more effective.
Yeah. Oh, I am Stubborn.
And
I know this. I'm stubborn when it comes to me. I won't lie to
Just
you.
you?
Huh?
Just you?
nah.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. I'm okay. Fine. I'm a stubborn donkey. I'm a stubborn donkey. When I find something, when I do find the right tool or when I find the right answer, I'm stubborn, and we all know this. But you know, I know this. I don't always find the right answer. I know this is to be true, and I'm less that. But once I find something and I think I'm right, yes, I am the most stubborn person in the world. Now all you have to do is prove me wrong. That's the hard part, isn't it? Once I feel I am right. Huh?
Touche.
Yep.
But that's that. You know, but sometimes you have to be stern. Sometimes you do have to be like that when in the heart of hearts and the mind, you know. So, and I stick, and again, you guys wouldn't respect me if I didn't stick to my guns.
Yep.
Well, when you're throwing a lot of lead down range, it's like, hey, we got to keep dodging that shit.
Right? But you guys are the same. Like, don't take all this stuff like I love everything you guys said, but seriously, you guys have been the same for me. There are a lot of things when I was in self-doubt and stuff like that. You guys helped me a lot. And I now have a better understanding of like specifically like again, I was talking to earlier Taranak about this. Like for me, um, it's not that I hate myself or any of those things of my past that was holding me back from accepting compliments and stuff like that. It wasn't even necessarily my negative mental state. It was because I'm a merit-based person now.
Yeah.
I have to see a
Yep.
continuous action. Like I was telling them, I don't trust people until your words have to have weight. So you have to like coming to me and going, "Oh, look at this one thing I did." Okay, well you proved you did it. Now do it again. I have to see the continuous action. It sucks. I am like this. That is my one standard I hold on myself. And then I do push it on others. I realize that. My bad thing is that I didn't see the merit in myself. And that was what I was fighting all year. And why I was rejecting it so hard. Because I
That's
couldn't
okay.
observe it. Huh?
That's okay. We're like water. We'll wear down even the toughest mountain.
That's true. You're just throwing back
And it
at me
might,
what I give. I know.
I mean, yeah, it may just be the gently flowing stream that wears you down, or it may be we go like ice and crack off pieces. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get you.
So to finish off, let I finish off so we can go and for me, we were going to talk about like what the plan for the year. What is the one thing? This is not a fucking New Year resolution. They're fucking stupid. What is the one thing you're actually going to stick by? And for me this year is the doing the same thing when I walk through hell. I have to accept things about myself. I have to actually accept things. I have to accept my merit. I have to justify to myself. And it's more than this. I have to accept the damage to my foot. I actually have to accept it because I have been fighting. Living with it isn't good enough. I have to deal with the fact that I have to live differently. I do have to deal with the fact that I am the person I want to be now. I have to deal with the fact that I have a bunch of people who love me and care about me. And it is because of who I am. Again, all I have to do is because I'm so mental and I have to understand these things. What did I say last year? The results speak for themselves. Here you
Yep.
guys are. So,
Yep.
yep.
Hey, it's like the other, I've, through my years, I've seen many, many people facing horrendous hardships. I mean, missing limbs and other, incredibly, detrimental things that have happened to them. And they go on and do things that are just like incredible. A guy sitting there building himself a new hand because, he lost he's got one finger and a thumb, and he's building himself a new hand by hand. It's like, holy smokes, and people sitting there, running around on skateboards and doing all this other crazy stuff. That's just like, hell, I've got all of my limbs and everything else, and I can't even do that. And it's
Can't even do
accepting
that
that
mentally.
yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, in the overall, yes, it's a pain in the ass, and you're always going to be, worried about the thing because that's just the way that we are. But when you step back for a moment and realize that things could be so much worse, I mean, beyond comprehension worse, and people deal with it. They deal with it and they thrive. And sometimes you got to sit there and say, you know what? I'm not going to sit there and let life slap me around. I am going to thrive too.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it sends at me. I'm going to do, all right, this is a setback, but it just means that I have to work harder in X, Y, or Z to, continue to live or to excel.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Constantly excelling or trying to excel.
Yeah.
May not always happen, but at least you're trying. And that's, if I wanted to say a New Year's resolution, but I mean, that's life in general, to constantly excel, constantly learn new things,
Yep.
constantly try new things, maybe change the way that I'm doing something. From where I was a couple of years ago. Oh, hey, I was able to do this, this, and this. Well, I can't do this anymore. Let me change it up so that I can do something else that's, more in line with what my abilities and stuff are at this point.
Yep.
And everybody needs to do that.
Well, okay. Well, how about you, Taranak? What is the one thing that you definitely want? And it can be something you put off. Like, what's the one thing you definitely want to make your effort for the year? It doesn't matter. It was just one goal. We're not talking like, not necessarily just what's your personal thing that, like, for me, it's acceptance. What's yours? Of myself.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, because I mean I've already got several things that I'm currently working on. So I mean, those things I'm going to continue on,
Yeah.
on those paths. But I think the one thing that I am most looking for or forward to, and if nothing else, just I want to somehow work on the physicality, being able to do a little bit more. And it's going to be a painful process, but I want to get to the point where, like a burr under a saddle, I want to hang around just to see what kind of crazy shit comes next.
Right.
And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I make my, I hate to say get healthier because it sounds so cliche, but it's like, if I plan to hang around for, another 10 years, I'm going to have to do a couple of things.
Yeah.
And, I'm not ashamed to admit that, quite a bit earlier last year, I was actually talking to a couple of family members, and I asked one of them to be my executor, a state executor, because I was worried.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't want. Now it's no. You're going to take a long time,
Right.
and because I want to stick around. I'm ornery and cussed enough that it's like, no. I'm going to outlast your ass.
Yep.
And
you got to no, because fuck you. That's why stage of life.
well, yeah, to a certain extent, I'm
I want to actually make a point. Like I said, with the thing, like the one thing I will say, if you want to live a longer life, I talk about purpose, but you do need passion. Use that things that are passion. If you have to, spite is a powerful weapon in your arsenal. It is. It's an incredibly useful thing if you use it correctly. Make sure, seriously.
Oh, it's one of the greatest motivators out of all of the emotions. It's one of the things my mum used to say after. She's like, after a breakup, she's like, you can cry for 3 days, but after that, you're done. Get angry, because being upset is a useless emotion. It does nothing for you, and you'll just sit around and wallow in your own shit. Get angry about it, because getting angry burns people's houses down.
Well, that's incorrect use of it. I'm just saying.
But yeah, that's it. Spite
you can
is
be
an incredibly powerful emotion.
You can be spiteful without being angry. That's the trick.
You can accomplish so much out of spite. Like I powered myself through secondary school, like high school, college, and university out of spite for people who said I wouldn't.
Right?
The moment someone tells you can't, fuck you, no.
And
Yep.
But if you want the most powerful motivator, it's what I told you guys. Look in the mirror and tell yourself to go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the only person you really have to spite is you.
Is that the positive message you're going to end it on?
Oh, absolutely.
Go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror. Tell yourself to go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. You're going to do that. Because, again, the only goal is to be better than yourself. You're the only thing you have to live up to.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one that's got to live in that,
Yep.
rattle around in that bone coffin in there, and-
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're talking about things like mortality, you want to make sure that when you're lying there in those last few minutes, going like, did I fuck up as much as I possibly could have? Like, did I do? Am I proud of all the things that I did with my life? Like, that's because at the end of the day, that's the only person you got to answer to.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
and that's why I asked those questions. How about you, Happy?
I mean,
Me?
I'm gonna.
He's
No.
desperately waiting
I'm
for
stealing
someone
it
else
from.
to jump in.
I'm stealing this from him, motherfucker. We're gonna work on your assertiveness.
No, he's just been in like standby mode now for
I
a
know,
good
that's what I'm saying.
half
We're gonna
hour,
work
40
on-
minutes,
That's
and then
what-
you've immediately turned around to him and said, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I don't know."
yeah, I mean, I was listening to all of this, and when you suddenly called out to me, I was like, what?
Deer in headlights.
Hey, get off my lawn!
Yep, we're working on your assertiveness this year. Yep, no, I'm stealing it for you. We're working on your assertiveness this year.
He's just trained in cybersecurity. I'm sure he's going to have to be plenty assertive.
I mean, I'm going to be working on a help desk, so assertiveness
Yeah.
is going to be
Good luck with that. Good luck. Like there are few people as angry as people when things have gone wrong on their computers,
Right.
especially when people have stolen their identities. You are going to be in the thick of it, my friend.
Oh, I
Yep.
made a decision.
Oh
I made a
my
decision
God.
what the next podcast is. Because Ashley should be back. Hopefully, I've got everything fixed. We're gonna focus on Ashley and Happy for the whole podcast.
Cool.
Everyone
Run,
agree?
Ashley, run!
We're gonna bully you, and it's gonna be great.
No, we still have to go.
You can try.
Yeah.
Because it's born on my phone.
Okay.
I like
Okay.
the way I actually love the way that you say that when it's like we all know that you will not be bullying Ashley. We all know that will be different.
Oh, no. See, this is where you're wrong. We bully each other. We do bully each other. You think
I
I don't
just
bully
don't
Ashley?
hear I don't hear the other side of it very often.
Oh, that's fair. Ashley, do I bully you? She's looking at me with evil eyes.
I was like,
Okay,
I
I was going to say, I felt that cold wave go over, but maybe that was just a draft in
alright.
the window.
All right.
I don't think we have tumbleweed in this country, but I genuinely think one would just roll past outside my window.
No. All right. Well, I love you guys all. We do gotta go. This is the Spoken Word with Raz. I hope that, like I said, I hope that, if you guys do watch this in the future or anything like that, I really do hope these things help people. Like, to realize that, that is capable, that you are capable of doing things you need to do, and that it is important. I love you guys, I really do. So, anyways, everyone say bye.
Ta-ra!
Bye!
Alright,
Bye-bye.
guys, have a great evening. I'll talk to you guys, well, I guess next week. Have a good one.
Okay.